I have here 3 laptops that I bought for $25 a piece, and in this video I am going to clean them up, potentially fix them up, and prepare them for resale online. If you haven't seen the first video, I've already fixed up one of the 4 laptops that I bought, and my goal today is to wrap everything up and see how much money we can make in total. So let's get into it. So I think this time I'm going to start with this one with the piece of tape on it. There are some clear cosmetic blemishes on this laptop. A lot looks like little stains and scuffs that might be able to get removed. On the back we have these rubber feet intact. Everything looks pretty good. I don't see any scratches on the case. There is some sticker residue here that I'd like to try and get off. And the inside's looking pretty clean actually. It looks almost brand new, like this thing wasn't used too much. I'm going to start by cleaning this thing off, and maybe we can actually get some use out of that magic eraser that we bought last time. So I'm just putting some isopropyl alcohol on this paper towel, and I'm going to scrub it all down and see what scuffs remain. So we were able to get a good bit of dirt off of this laptop. The thing looks really good. It looks to be in very good condition. While I was scrubbing this down, I caught this little mouse nub thing. So I'm going to take this off and set it to the side for now so I don't lose it. Before I scrub this down, I'm going to try and peel off this piece of tape. So that took me like 5 minutes to peel up, but it didn't actually leave any residue, so this laptop's looking really good. So I'm going to start with a dry rub as I saw online last time, and then I'm going to come in with a wet rub over this surface. It kind of sounds like a dog being killed. Now this time I actually am seeing some debris being removed, so I'm starting to understand the appeal of these magic erasers. Little too much water. I am very impressed with how this looks. It's looking like a brand new machine almost. There is a blemish or two left. There's a little bit of a scratch in the case, but overall I'm very impressed with how this turned out. Now let's try and get the sticker residue out of the other side, and I think we'll be good to power this thing on. So that sticker residue is pretty much entirely gone now. I've removed most of the dust from these rubber feet down here at the bottom. Now, what I want to do is try and power this thing on and run diagnostics. I am, of course, going to take it apart and replace the thermal paste, but hopefully that should be all that I need to do to this laptop. So in between these videos, I've gone ahead and bought 3 separate power adapters, all 65 watt USB-C chargers. So I'll put the new totals up on the screen right now. So when I plugged it in, the lights all came on, and it's booting right up. So I'm going to let it boot and see what operating system it's got installed. It already appears to be Windows 10. I don't know if this has been reset or what. We'll see. Now this, just like the other laptop, is taking a very long time to boot. And what do you know? It's property of the same company, actually. So these were all found in one storage unit. I'm assuming that this guy was IT for this company, Cooper Vision. But the good thing is that last time when I installed Windows 11, the drive was not taking nearly as long to boot. So now I'm going to try and get to the BIOS if I can remember the BIOS key. So this thing still has a hard drive in it. That would explain the whining noise that I just heard. It's a 265 gigabyte hard drive. That also would explain why this thing took forever to boot. It's got a 6th gen i5 in it, which is much worse than the previous laptop, and it's only got 16 gigs of RAM, so this is definitely a smaller value laptop. Is it worth more than $25? We'll see, I guess. So what I need to do now is run diagnostics, and I will let you guys know the results of those after they finish. So looking at the recently sold listings on eBay, I have come to the conclusion that I'm going to need to put an SSD in this thing. The fact is, no one wants to buy a computer with a hard drive in it in the year 2025. So that took an extremely long amount of time, and it was very loud, but it all completed successfully, it seems. So I guess the next steps are going to be to, first of all, put this guy back where it belongs. And I'm going to turn this guy off, open it up, and see if there's an M2 slot. And while I'm in there, I'll probably clean it up and put in some new thermal paste. So the inside is actually pretty clean too, but more surprising is this thing already has an SSD in there. I'm not sure why the BIOS is calling this a hard drive, but it looks like I won't have to buy a SSD. This thing must not have been used too often. It is just way too clean. I mean, I'm not really seeing that much dust even in the fan here. Once again, it looks like we have one of these wireless cards, but the wires aren't actually hanging loose over here. I'm not sure if I want to take that out of there and have a bunch of loose wires. And also, the listing I have for the first one doesn't seem to be picking up much traction, so that thing will probably be sitting around for a little while. So I'm just going to take this off of here now and put on some new thermal paste. In the last video, I had some people telling me that I put too much thermal paste on there, so I'll dial it back this time for you. Now this little connector is always a pain with these thin wires. I'm always worried I'm going to break something. So that was stuck on there pretty good, and this is as dry as can be. So I guess what I'm going to do first is use this pry tool to scrape off the dry bits here. Well, that didn't work as well over here. So I'm going to dip a Q-tip in isopropyl and rub the rest of this off of here. So I'm not sure the perfect amount of thermal paste to put on here. Let me know in the comments, more or less. I'm going to assume that that's good, huh? So I'm going to do a once-over of this laptop with the compressed air. And then I'll put this thing back together. I think that's all we have to do to this laptop besides install Windows 11 on here. So before I fix down this fan, I'm going to fasten this heatsink on top of the die. And I'm not sure if this applies to this kind of heatsink, but I'm going to go corner to corner here. Now this right here is the part that I don't like. It always feels so delicate. So that is the Windows 11 loading wheel. And here is the setup screen. So I'm going to follow through this setup, install Windows 11 onto this SSD, and then check the activation status. And if we're all good, I'm going to clean my fingerprints and all the goo that I've got on my hands off of this system, and we're going to be done with it. So Windows 11 now boots from the SSD in this device, and as you can see, it is activated. So I noticed right before I shut this computer down that it actually had a SIM card that was still inserted. So obviously we want to remove this thing before we sell it to anybody. And I'm actually going to go ahead and destroy this thing so nobody has any way that they can use this. This thing was in very good cosmetic condition, but the hardware inside of it kind of sucked. We didn't have to buy anything for this device, which is good for our profits, but we're only going to make probably $100 at the most selling this thing off. But anyway, this thing is good for eBay pictures, and I'm going to move on to the next one. The next laptop I'm going to look at is another Latitude 7400, and we're just going to follow the same process as last time. Clean this thing up, see if it boots, see if any of the hardware is faulty, all that good stuff. So this one is also cosmetically way better off than the last one. There's some sort of residue here that maybe I can get out of this case. The hinges are much better on this guy, very stable. The power button isn't worn at all like the other one. I really don't see much wear at all on this keyboard. It looks to be in good condition, just a little bit dusty. I can see that it has an 8th gen i5, so maybe we'll get lucky, and this one will also have 32 gigs of memory. Now, the back, I don't see any scuffs, actually. None at all, and the rubber feet are in place this time. So, this one's looking pretty promising. Let's do the isopropyl scrub down. Now I'm going to go over this thing with the magic eraser, not because it looks like we really need to, honestly. This case looks to be in the best condition of all of them so far, but just because seemingly it can't hurt. Now maybe that got some residue out of here, I have no idea. Anyway, let's clean out the inside. The hinges really feel nice on this. So I'm going to say that this laptop is probably property of CooperVision. Appears to be Windows 10 again. Oh, this one boots very quickly. This one belonged to Rafael. This looks like a personal one, Rafael Iguarta. Now I'm not going to look through Rafael's things. We're going to turn this off and we're going to check out what specifications are in this guy. We do have 32 gigs of memory. We have another 8th gen i5 and another 256 gigabyte, presumably SSD, given how fast that thing booted. The battery health on this guy is excellent, and I guess now we should run diagnostics. Alright, so once again, I'm going to let these diagnostics run, and I will let you know the results. So it looks like everything was successful here. I'm going to take this guy apart and I'm going to reapply the thermal paste, spray it out, just about the same as we did last time, but it's looking like this one's going to be some pretty good profit. So I'm kind of in an interesting position here. I'll have two of the same model of laptop up with the same specifications in them. I don't think that having two items on the store wildly varying in cosmetic condition for the same price is a good idea. The inside of this thing looks almost flawless. If we get a little close up here, you can see, I mean, there's only really a little bit of dust on the fan, but the rest of this is almost spotless. I'm expecting that in all of these the thermal paste is going to be dried up because they're at least 5 years old, huh? I mean, this thing must have been manufactured in 2018. Such a satisfying thing to do to polish these dies because they're so shiny. It actually looks like something's fallen into the fan here and left like a splotch of goo, so I'm gonna scrub that off really quick. And just like last time, we're going to put it back together. We're going to install Windows on this thing and make sure it's activated and move on to the next one. So it is Windows 11 install time. I just put this thing back together. And when this is finished, I will show you that it's activated and we can move along. So I'm not sure if it's necessary that we do it this way, but what I've been doing is deleting all of the partitions on the SSD, and then when there's one blank unallocated space, I start installing to it. And that seems to work pretty good. I'm not sure if I could just click System and it would overwrite all of the partitions automatically. I'd rather be safe than sorry. So this is another laptop with Windows 11 installed and activated. Again, I'm going to clean all the scuffs and fingerprints that I've put on this thing, handling it, and we'll be good to move into the next one. So finally, we have this Latitude 7410. It also has this sticker residue on the top of the laptop. There's some scuffs, but still nowhere near as much as the first one. The hinge, it feels pretty good. It's actually a little tighter than all of the other ones, I think. Everything looks very good on the inside. It's just a little bit dusty. You can tell it has been used because there's some finger marks here. And it says i7 10th generation, so this might be a very good one. There is some sticker residue here. There's some scuffs. There's not really any scratches. The feet here are very damaged. There's almost none of the foot left on the top, and a piece of this is missing at the bottom as well. So we already have a part that we need to replace in this guy, but it's looking pretty promising actually. The hardware inside of this thing is worth a lot more. Let's clean this thing up, turn it on, run diagnostics, see what operating system's on this guy. Maybe this thing's running Windows 11 because it is a newer system. You know, I'm realizing that I'm doing two cleans, once when I start and once at the end, because I get my greasy fingerprints all over this thing. I'm not sure how necessary that is, but I've kind of gotten in the rhythm now. I don't want to switch it up. Looks like it is Windows 10. And what do you know, this is another one that was former property of CooperVision. So in this guy we have 16 gigabytes of RAM, we have a 10th gen i7, and we have a 256 gigabyte SSD. The battery's health is excellent, so once again I'm going to restart this system and run diagnostics. So everything passed successfully, and this diagnostics test was actually a lot faster than the previous one, so I'm not sure if that's due to the hardware or updates to their testing methodologies. But at this point, you know, I'm going to take this thing apart, I'm going to replace the thermal paste, and we're going to turn it on, install Windows 11, blah, 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 blah. And actually, before I take this thing apart, I want to remove these feet, or what remains of the feet. I can see why there was some lingering around. That was actually a little harder than I thought it was going to be to pull those out of there. They have little holes that they slot into. So I hope that I can find a replacement that either has the pegs in the right location or doesn't have any pegs at all. Whoa, now this looks a little bit different. Once again, there's almost no dust in this thing. It's in pretty pristine condition, but they've changed the layout up a lot in this guy. I'm going to have to pry this up so that I can pull off the heatsink. I don't know how much of the heatsink is inside of this strange contraption. It looks like there's two additional screws holding down the battery as well. I mean, I think this is part of the battery pack. I'm not too certain. The cable connecting the battery to the motherboard is a lot less heavy duty. There is no dust on the back of this, surprisingly. There's no dust on the front of it. So how do I get this guy off of here? Well, that's extremely unusual. This wasn't actually held down by anything except these thermal pads. I'm not sure if this screw above here is the cage protecting these cables, or if it is actually hooked into the fan as well. It appears to be the same type of screw that I can see up here. It does appear that this bracket is both shielding these cables and holding the fan into place. Now this thing is taking a concerningly long amount of time to turn back on. Well, it did come on though. Oh. I guess the clock in this thing is powered off of the main battery. Is there not a CMOS battery in this? Well, there we go. It's time to install Windows 11 for the fourth time. I'll spare you the details. So it appeared like everything was going well with this laptop until I finished installing Windows when it shut down, and I saw a red light down here when it was plugged in. Every time I would press the power button, the red light would come on. So yeah, we're going to have to take this thing apart again, remove the battery, test out if I'm able to run it off of the power supply, and if so, then that means we have to replace both the feet and the battery in this guy. And that was not successful. I turn it on, this front light comes on for about half of a second, and the keyboard backlight stays on. when I first booted this thing, it gave me some sort of RTC error where I had to set the system time. And when I was researching other Latitudes that were having this exact same issue, somebody mentioned the CMOS battery. So putting two and two together, I'm going to try and replace the CMOS battery. I'm not exactly sure where to find it. Did I miss it? Did I miss the CMOS battery? So finally, after tearing this thing down looking for a phantom CMOS battery and doing a BIOS update via USB and the Dell Recovery utility, I was able to get this thing to boot, and as you can see, Windows is activated. So that's the last of them. Let's clean this thing up and we'll start listing them all on eBay. So now we're going to install those replacement rubber feet, and that should be it for this laptop. So that's it for those 4 laptops. I was actually able to make a profit of about $330 from all 4 of these laptops. I will revise this once all of them are sold, and I will either post a comment or put it in the description of this video. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. I was not expecting so much support on these videos, and I'm very excited to keep making them. I hope you guys will stick around to see what else I can come up with. But anyway, I will see y'all in the next one.